Car launch number 8 of 10. It's time to look at the Ferrari. The SF23, a car that absolutely banged last year, but with the carbon creeping in this season, has it been spoiled? What do I think? And can I make it any better with my redesign? Let's talk about it. Straight front on, no different to last year. All carboned out front wing. You've got the carbon out black wing and the Ferrari text on the back, which we saw briefly last year. Looks brilliant. Don't know why they didn't have that in the first place. Happy days, all good, but then when you come round to the side, that's when you start to see the big change. Last year's car was incredibly simple. It was basically a completely red chassis with black front and rear wing. Instead, with this year, they've moved. It's not even like they've just gotten rid of paint. It's like they've moved red from behind the Saver Logistics onto the front wing end plate, and then they've moved paint from the fin onto the rear wing end plate. You've got the kind of angled cut-in around the front where the Richard Mille and the Scuderia Ferrari logo is as well. The implementation of carbon doesn't massively offend me because it's quite a dark red anyway, so it doesn't super stand out. Like at first glance, especially if you're looking from a distance, you would just think the whole car's red. It's only when you get a little bit closer. But I'll be honest, I preferred last season when the front and rear wing were all black. To me, that gave it more kind of, I don't know, classic F1 vibes, a bit more vintage. One of my favourite F1 liveries of all time actually is the Ferrari from the kind of early 90s. But to be fair, it's not so much the livery, it's the fact that the car itself was so beautiful back then. These cars are clearly a bit more fiddly, a bit more tricky, right? There's a lot going on here. Veles is no longer on the car, the crypto sponsor, but Bang & Olufsen has come over from Williams. There's what HCL software on the front wing, and otherwise it's kind of business as usual. It's still a beautiful racing car, but compared to last year, I gotta say, I think it's a bit of a downgrade. The carbons come in, combined with the front and rear wing end plates, and made a more fiddly livery that just doesn't have that charm of last season. But never mind, because I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. Here is my redesign of the 2023 Ferrari. Now, if you watch these videos every year, you'll know that last season I changed the Ferrari by adding white to it, and that's exactly what I'm doing this year as well. A red, black and white Ferrari, for me, is prime. You look at that car in the Schumacher era and there was always white on it, and it looked banging. This is nostalgia calling, probably, but I'm here for it. Let's start with the front wing. So I've only made the very top of the wing on either side white, contrasted nicely with the Santander branding. They will like that because it makes their logo really pop. Otherwise, it's pretty much the same. I've bought the HCL software logo up. The AWS is still there. Santander's still on the front wing end plate, but as you can see, it's a carbon front wing end plate. So I've removed the red from the sides because I think it looks better. I've tidied up the sponsors on the nose, and I've also made the Ferrari logo on the nose quite a bit bigger than it is in real life. I think they could get away with making that bigger. I think it would then be in more proportion with the rest of the car, in my opinion. Round to the side, and the main brands, the main logos, the Shell, the Saver and the Ray-Ban, I've kind of moved them around a bit. So I've made Ray-Ban a lot smaller, but I've brought it forward into a more kind of prime position, especially when you look at from this kind of perspective angle. To me, that Ray-Ban logo is even more legible, even though it's a bit smaller, and I just think that makes the balance of the side pod a little bit more pleasant, because typically you don't have 3 big sponsors on a side pod. Usually it's just one, like, I don't know, Mercedes with Petronas, Aston Martin with Cognizant, etc, etc. But Ferrari, of course, like to do things a little bit differently. Now, just like in the real car, I've got the carbon black coming down onto the fin and onto the kind of back top half. I've carried that here because, again, I want to try and make this realistic. And again, I've made the carbon come up at the back so it's not too thermally interrupted. But then I've added some kind of a white highlight. Santander's come in. I've also put the Italian flag in a nice kind of skewed design just because I thought it looked quite fancy. I don't know, really. And that's the thing with the black on the back. When you kind of squint and look at the screen, it makes it look like a completely different shaped car. Kind of cool. Almost kind of like a bit of a pickup truck, which probably isn't something I should be saying about a Ferrari. You might have also noticed the numbers. I've gone very different, a severe sheer, because it's different. I don't actually know if there are rules around a specific area within where you have to have the driver numbers on the side of the car, because a lot of the times they're so small or so deformed by the shape of the car, it's like, what's the point? come around to the back, and you can really see there is kind of a front heaviness on the red, and I've kept the back of the rear wing clear because I felt like I got all the brands in I needed to showcase that space, maybe get some more sponsors coming in. Strategic, see Ferrari, I'm thinking here of your bottom line. And I've also put the tricolour of the Italian flag on the top of the rear wing. I thought that was a nice little touch. So that is my redesign of the 2023 Ferrari. This Ferrari redesign went down an absolute treat when I did it last year. Obviously this isn't exactly the same, but I'll be interested to see what you lot think compared to the real thing as well. I wasn't convinced I improved it last year, but I prefer this to what we've actually seen in real life. I don't dislike the real thing, I just think this is better. I'm a sucker for a bit of white on a Ferrari, what can I say? 2 more to go, Mercedes and Alpine. Be sure to like this video and subscribe if you don't want to miss those videos, which will be coming in the coming days. My name is Tommo, thanks again, have a good one. Ta-da.